Hey everyone, Jesse from the Laughing Lich Corporation here, and I'm here with Morgan. How's it going, Morgan?
Pretty good.
Excellent. So, I wanted to do this interview with you, and so let's start. Whereabouts are you from?
My dad was in the army growing up, so I traveled a lot. I think I've moved a total of 12 times, so I've lived all over the United States. So I'm not really from anywhere, but I graduated from high school in North Carolina, so I'm from North Carolina.
Okay. My
But
brother currently lives in North Carolina. That's kind of cool.
okay, what part?
Raleigh.
Oh, okay. I used to live like 30 minutes south of Raleigh, like in Fayetteville, so
Okay.
kind of around there.
All right. Very nice. And so, what do you do for a living?
Well, I teach part-time at a small day school. I teach students with learning disabilities. I teach biology, and I also tutor students after school from other schools. I tutor them in biology, science, and math, all kinds of other things over there. And then I also TA on campus.
Awesome. That's excellent. And so, what do you do for when you have free time? It sounds like you don't have much free time at all.
Um, Play a lot of games. I try to de-stress as much as possible. Um, I like to go outside as much as I can, but frankly, a lot of my hobbies are indoors, so it's hard to go outside whenever all of the things I like to do for fun are inside. But I like to garden a lot, and I like to go hiking and find new places for things.
All right. And so you mentioned playing video games. Do any of them happen to be any role play games?
Skyrim. I played a ton of Skyrim. Um, and then I don't know if you count The Sims. Count The Sims, I played tons of that. And then I think that's really it as far as what I've actually played. But played tons of Skyrim, played it when it first came out with my dad, and then I've played it ever since. Probably have several thousand hours on that game. So
That's awesome. Yeah, Skyrim is a great example, and The Sims too. I mean, you're role playing a character, so I guess that definitely does count. And so, have you ever heard of Dungeons and Dragons?
I have. Growing up, my dad was kind of nerdy. He played it all the time as a kid, and so I grew up hearing about it. Mostly him getting ragged on by my mom. And then he played this game like Dungeons and Dragons online, and like really wanted to play it, and so eventually he went to play it. But that was what I thought it was. And then as I grew up, my brother started playing like other board games, like um, oh, I don't even know. And there were other similar board games, like more modern derivatives of D&D. But yeah, I've known about it my whole life pretty much.
Uh, were they called Pathfinder, maybe?
I think that was one of them. It was like Secret Hitler, I think is the
Okay.
name of it.
Yeah,
Yeah,
Secret Hitler is a good
probably.
one.
Yeah, but he used to go play D&D on the weekends with his friends, but Secret Hitler was one that came up a lot. And there was another one that I just can't remember. And there were several.
Okay. And so, when I say D&D to you, what is the first thought that comes into your head?
The loading screen of Dungeons and Dragons online.
Okay, that'll work. And let's see. You had mentioned your first exposure to D&D was with your father, and everything like that. So in D&D, you do choose a class very similar to, kind of similar to Skyrim. Skyrim, you kind of do it as you go. But if you had to choose a class in D&D, which would you choose?
I always go with like an archer, a ranger. I'm always I like to be in the background. I don't like things touching me, and I don't like touching things, and I don't like getting hit by things because then I'm just like, oh my gosh, and it freaks me out, and then I get jump scared, and I don't like that. So if I can just like shoot them with a bow and arrow from really far away, I'm like, okay, cool. That's what I like to do.
Okay, awesome. And so probably either a fighter with a bow or a ranger might be a good fit for you. And so if you had to choose a race, now there's a lot of races. Would you go more traditional or more non-traditional races for D&D?
I I don't even know. I don't even know what the options are.
There's
Like,
quite a lot of options.
yeah, I guess it really just depends because like I know in Skyrim there's like, oh well, if you choose an orc, then like you can use berserker or like use all these other cool power ups, and you're born with this cool bonus to your stats, and now it depends on what you get
Yeah, I will
based on your
say recently the creators of Dungeons and Dragons actually made a modification to the rules where generally if you're a specific race you get like an increase to your dex or an increase to your charisma or whatever depending on what race you are. They recently scrapped that idea and allowed you to just choose which stats would you like to increase when you're a part of a certain race, kind of implying like there's always going to be a strong person in your race. Generally the race is like really intelligent people, but maybe you are the one person who's super strong in that race. So you can still play a race and gain the benefit of whatever you want in your attributes. So yeah, you could technically choose any race and still do pretty well. There are some abilities that certain races have, but they're not game-breaking or anything like super valuable, I wouldn't say.
That's kind of cool. I like that idea.
So if you had to guess, would you go for like more traditional, like human, orc, halfling, elf, dwarf, or would you go more non-traditional, like tabaxi, which is a cat folk, lizard folk, owlin, Harengon, which is like a rabbit, or a Goliath or something like that?
Probably go traditional. Those other things sound scary. I don't want to be like... I mean, it does sound kind of cool to be like, there's this super beat-up, scarred rabbit chasing me down like the hallway. It's like, oh my god. But yeah, no, I'd go to traditional.
Okay, more traditional. And let's see. So in D&D, you play with a group of people. So I guess we should probably start with your backstory. What would your ranger or fighter with a bow, what kind of a backstory would you want for them? Would they be the kind of like traveling through the forest and just kind of lonesome by themselves, keeping track of the forest, or would they be more outgoing, going from town to town, being like what's the name? Like a kind of a Robin Hood that would shoot arrows at like the apples on people's head just to prove how good they are, something like that. What kind of a archer would you be?
Maybe like, I'm thinking your first one, your first example, like kind of like floating through the woods, just like, that guy looks like he's doing some dirty deeds over there. You know what I mean?
So making sure that the forest stays under wraps under your watch. So making sure no one's screwing around with anything in the forest.
Yeah, exactly.
All right. And so, let's see. What would make you go out on an adventure? I assume if someone screwed with the forest, you'd be pretty pissed. So you'd probably go after them if that were the case, right?
Yeah.
All right, and yep, go ahead.
I was gonna say also, like, if they're kind of like in love with the forest, of course they're gonna be like, oh, I love the forest, I'm gonna go spend some time with the forest that I love. So just kind of go wander around, just be like, hey tree, what's up? You know what I mean?
All right, and so what would motivate you to go outside of the forest? What would get you out of the forest and maybe go to a tundra or to an island or something like that?
Chasing down the people who threatening the forest, right? So I just got done playing Pokemon, right? So there was Pokemon Emerald. They were talking about like, oh, we're gonna blow up this volcano and extend the land, okay? But obviously they were not at the volcano the entire time. They were getting tools for the volcano. So you're gonna go to where the people are, okay? You're not gonna spend all your time at the volcano where like it's gonna happen because they need the stuff to trigger the volcano. So you're gonna go follow the bad guys. You're gonna follow the bad guys. That's why I played the forest. So you could go chase the bad guys down.
Of course. Okay, that makes sense. So how do you see yourself collaborating with a group of people? So you go out on an adventure, you're going to go face these bad guys, but how do you interact and collaborate with your other group members that might be able to help you?
I'm not sure yet. I think being supportive is one thing. I mean, no, I can't be the brains of the operation because I have no idea what I'm doing. And I don't like when things touch me. Don't like that. So, because there's like knockback, right? So then you get knocked down, and then there's like crit, and I'm like, oh my gosh. And then I get stressed out. Don't like that. So I can't be in the front lines, but I can help you all out. Y'all can do your thing, and I can be there to help support y'all.
Okay, so more of a support system, just kind of be there. You tell me where to shoot, and I'll shoot.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. So, and then what would your character do in their spare time when they're not adventuring or when they're just hanging out with their group, just kind of waiting for things to happen? What would your character be doing in the spare time?
Hmm. The thing that comes to mind is cooking. I think cooking would be cool.
Okay. So
I
you're
think
gonna
the
be the party cook and just making meals every night or something?
Mhm.
All
Because
right.
everyone can have a second breakfast and a third lunch, right?
Of course. And what would be your favorite dish to make everyone?
Everyone gets their own dish.
Okay,
Their
so
own.
you'd let them all decide, and then you'd make it just how they like.
Mhm.
Excellent, excellent. All right, well, I think we have what we need. So I should also mention, you did mention that you wanted to be more of an archer slash ranger. Now, the difference between a ranger class and a fighter class is that the fighter generally does not have spells. There are some subclasses that have spells in the fighter, but generally fighter is just shoot fast, shoot many, and do awesome damage. Whereas a ranger is more utility. They can heal. They have spells. They have different utilities to like help feed the characters, like a good berry. So more utility in that respect. But they don't shoot nearly as hard or fast as a fighter. So which one would you kind of lean towards?
Hmm. Right offhand, I would say probably a fighter,
Okay.
but I like some of the aspects of a ranger, so I don't know. Probably more fighter.
Okay. Well, we can look into it, and we will see what we decide later. Okay. Other than that, that is what we have right now, and we are going to make your character right this second, and after that, we will put them into a game, and we'll see what happens. So, thank you so much for coming here, Morgan.
Thanks.
Hey, Morgan. So we played a game. So first off, how are you?
Good.
Excellent. And so we played a game of Dungeons and Dragons, and I wanted to get your feedback. Overall, what were your impressions of the game?
I had like so much fun. Like actually so much fun. It's just I don't know. It's like playing the Skyrim, but you're talking it out, and it's there's so much freedom, and I really like that.
Yeah, a lot of people have said that it's just so much freedom. And so tell us about the character that you made. I know we discussed it in your first interview, but what do we actually settle with?
So her name is Saria, and she is a ranger, from like the woodland part of some province. I can't remember the name of that I came up with, and she pretty like she doesn't take jokes very well. She used to work for the city and she used to be like part of the guard and she used to be a detective, but now she's like not doing that anymore. She's retired. And so she's like, you know what? I'm just gonna actually solve problems before they come to my city. But her city is like an old archaeological historical site, so there's like a lot of old necromancers there who are causing trouble all the time. And so she has to deal with that. And she's like, you know what? Instead of me just fighting them in my city, how about I go and address the problem all like right away, like from the root, the core of the issue. And so that's what she's been doing. She really hates undead because like they're all over her city. She's like, freaking necromancers need to stop this. So, um, yeah, that's kind of it. She just kind of is supportive. She's a Drake warden now, so she has a Drake named Urix, and he's really cool. I haven't developed him much, but yeah, that's about it.
All right, that's awesome. And so you enjoyed this character. Do you think you would ever switch it up, or you think you're gonna play this character for a long run?
I think I would want to switch it up. Maybe if I did like something different. I was considering like a paladin,
Okay.
but I don't know because I've played a lot of Neverwinter, and I'm like, ooh,
Uh,
paladins, not so bad.
of
So
course.
I've worked around with the idea. So.
Okay. So, what was your least favorite thing about the session? What was something that you were iffy about or wasn't really confident about? What did you least like?
I felt like it was kind of dominated, like the conversation was dominated by like only a few people. like between the combat. So like if we would walk into a room, I felt like I was dominating a lot, and then Shannon might have been dominating the conversation. So I feel like I wish other people had a chance and there was like an opportunity for other people to kind of like jump in at some point, if that makes sense.
Hmm.
Um, just so that way it's kind of even. So like the turn-based part in the combat is nice because everyone gets a chance to do something. But between combat instances, it's sometimes a little disproportionate. But that's also like on the person whether or not they want to
Hmm.
chime up. So that's
Yeah,
the only thing that I'm like, I wish it was a little bit more even.
I did speak with Emmy, and she actually wanted to become a mute monk so that she
Ooh.
wouldn't have to talk because she doesn't want to talk or she doesn't enjoy it or she's like what do you call it? She's concerned or self-conscious of her of what she was going to say. So she actually brought that up to me, and I was like, oh well, you could try it a little bit more. So I definitely see where you're coming from, but I think it's just her preference. All right,
Yeah.
so then what was your favorite moment of the session?
Um, hmm, I think my favorite moment was when Pip killed the big uh skeleton minotaur skeletor looking guy. That was really fun.
Yes.
Um, I also I really liked Awen, and whenever he's like, "Can I draw that?" And he's like not greedy at all. He's just like, "I just want to look at it." Okay, okay. I think that's so funny.
Yeah.
Um,
All
but
right.
yeah.
And so did you have a favorite NPC from the session?
Hmm. Hmm. I don't know. I think there weren't too many NPCs. So we ran into his name that I can't remember, the gnome. Um, I don't really remember too many other NPCs.
Just as a reminder, there was Soul Took, Yuri, Mayor Igor, Corin the Smith, Finn Sterling the Barkeep, and a few others. Yeah.
Um, the wizard guy in the city, was his name Yuri? That was Yuri, right?
Yuri.
Okay, yeah, he was kind of cool, but
Okay.
none really stood out too much.
Okay. And what aspect or what pillar of play did you enjoy the most? And the pillars are roleplay, combat, or exploration. Which one would you say that you were guided to the most?
Oh, I love exploration. That's
Okay.
so fun.
So
Um,
just going around and searching for things and just seeing what there is to find.
yeah, yeah, yeah. I really like that because um, I'm a very thorough, I guess, game player. So like every time I play Skyrim, I'm like I complete every quest, max out every skill. So I'm a completionist. And so going into a room and surveying or like investigating something for clues, and then it's like, you know what, there might be clues, but you missed them because you rolled too low. So I think that's really fun, and it's not always like where everything in other games is like handed to you. It's like, oh, cool, you found it, you found it. It's like, no, you don't get to see this trap.
So you
So
actually enjoyed that aspect of you're searching for things, and sometimes it doesn't pan out, and sometimes you roll really well, but there's just nothing there to be found anyway. So that just like, did I roll enough or did I not roll enough? It really doesn't matter. It's just is there something there or not, and you enjoyed that.
yeah, I the chance part I
Hmm.
really like.
Okay, and then what would you say would be your next favorite pillar after that?
Mm, combat. It's hard. It keeps you on your toes. It's like, okay, this is what I would do in this situation, but what is my party gonna do? And so it's their decisions play like they make it almost frustrating. It's like, what did you do? But you can't say anything because it's not your character. So
Hmm.
yeah, I like combat.
Okay, that's awesome. And so roleplay was your least favorite, and why do you think it was your least favorite?
Um, So like I'm really uncomfortable with myself.
Hmm.
Like I have like a little bit of a TMI backstory. I used to weigh like 250 pounds, so now I don't. I have like 150, so now I'm like really awkward with my body because I don't know how to handle it. So me being able to like know my own character in real life is hard, let alone playing another one in a game. So it's like it's just hard. Like I don't. It feels uh, almost forced, but it's not because it's fun. But it's just weird. It's a new concept for me.
Okay.
So.
Well, if anything, I hope it's at least practice, and that we can definitely work on your comfort level. I hope that we can. Um, all right, so I guess the big question is, would you ever play again?
Yeah.
Awesome. And let's say you had a friend or someone you knew that you wanted to get them into D&D. How would you explain D&D to them in order to get them interested in it? What would you say to them?
Well, I would just say it's so fun, like 5 times. Like, because I'm imagining me having this conversation. It's like, oh my gosh, it's so fun. It's just so fun. Um, but like, I would probably compare it to Civ. So if they've ever played Civ, I feel like people play computer games a little bit more. And so, like, if you've ever played Civ, it's just like that, but Skyrim style. So it's because I see Civ a lot in our sessions, so that would be the best way to explain it, I think.
Okay. All right. Well, thank you so much, Morgan. It was a pleasure having you to play with, and we will definitely hear from you again. Hopefully, we can play another session. And yeah, thank you so much.
Yeah, no problem.